A white-haired woman with sharp blade-like ears recalled the day she found a black-haired boy long ago. She felt relieved that he finally discovered his own path and hoped that the boy named Blank would enjoy his newfound freedom as much as possible. In the crowded center of the royal capital, a young girl approached a shopkeeper who quickly realized she wasn't with her mother. She explained that her mother was nearby talking, so she came alone. The shopkeeper laughed, already expecting such behavior from her mother, who loved chatting. Before they could continue, people around them noticed something in the sky. When the girl and the shopkeeper looked up, a dragon appeared and unleashed a torrent of flames. A blinding flash washed over everything, and in the next moment the entire city lay in ruins. Those who survived quickly understood that the black dragon was attacking. The dragon roared loudly, showing off its overwhelming might. The shopkeeper was stunned that the strongest of the Demon King's first lieutenants had appeared here, convinced they had no chance of surviving. A squad of mages rushed in to confront the dragon. The survivors felt a spark of hope when they saw the Royal Mage Corps arrive, believing they might still live. The mages gathered their power and fired a massive combined spell. The black dragon didn't even flinch, letting the attack strike directly. When the blast seemed to engulf it, the people cheered, thinking the monstrous creature had finally fallen. But as the smoke faded, the dragon remained standing without a single wound. Everyone froze, horrified at the sight. The captain ordered his forces to prepare defensive spells, noticing the dragon was ready to attack again. They managed to raise a barrier just in time, but it shattered instantly under the dragon's overwhelming might, sending the mages crashing to the ground. The captain realized they had no hope of winning. Many accepted that death was coming. The girl from earlier desperately looked for her mother. Hovering above, the black dragon prepared its final attack to wipe them all out. At that moment, a masked mage invoked the seal of the demon-breaking barrier. The dragon's breath halted, turning harmless as an immense barrier surrounded the city. The masked mage raised his hand and cast Grace of the Blessed Rain. Confused at first, the people slowly realized that the falling rain was healing their wounds. They were confused about what was happening. The girl from earlier pointed out that someone was floating. Only then did everyone notice the Black Emperor had appeared. No one expected the strongest Grade 0 adventurer to show up. Hope surged through the crowd, excitement rising as their savior finally arrived. The black masked mage didn't acknowledge any of it. He raised his hand, summoning a dark spear, known as the Divine Annihilation Spear. With a simple motion, it shot toward the dragon and struck its body. The dragon screamed in agony, yet still kept its wings spread wide. The masked mage understood the creature wouldn't die from a single blow. He decided to finish the fight completely. Lifting his hand, countless dark spears materialized in the sky. He intended to attack until the dragon collapsed. Furious, the dragon unleashed another massive fire blast, but the mage already knew such a move couldn't harm him again. He refused to let the beast escape. With a swift gesture, the floating spears spun at high speed before launching forward. The dragon's body was torn apart, holes ripping through its flesh until nothing remained but a ruined, falling corpse. Everyone stared in stunned silence as the mighty black dragon dropped from the sky. Moments later, cheers erupted, praising the Black Emperor's victory and the lives he had saved. The Dark Emperor simply observed them for a moment before walking away as if the whole event meant nothing. People shouted his name, yet none got the chance to thank him. The girl from earlier watched him leave, admiration shining in her eyes. At the Adventurers Guild headquarters, a receptionist rushed toward the black masked mage, asking about the request. Other adventurers looked tense as he stepped inside. He calmly stated the mission was complete. The hall burst into celebration. The receptionist felt relieved knowing he had defeated the supposedly unbeatable black dragon. The masked mage said this was exactly what he had trained for. She assumed he meant he trained specifically to slay the black dragon, but he reminded her it was part of their deal connected to him quitting adventuring. Everyone froze. Then he announced he was retiring as a Grade 0 adventurer. The guild members were left shocked. Only 8 people in the world held the title of Grade 0, the highest rank of human strength. News of his retirement spread everywhere. Nations and guilds desperately tried to find or recruit him, but no one managed to locate him. Eventually, he vanished completely. 3 years later, a black-haired boy reached a small town in the distance. He felt it was time to start fresh. Blank registered as a new adventurer and received his license, showing he was beginning at Grade 10. The receptionist explained the mana-infused plate was now his official license. She told him he would need it for accepting or reporting quests and asked him to keep it safe. Then she asked if he had any questions. Blank said he had no questions, thanked her, and then realized he didn't even know her name. The receptionist apologized for the late introduction and told him her name was Lena. She welcomed him to Claret in the kingdom of Rarat and wished him success in his work as an adventurer. As Blank walked through the town, he noticed how peaceful Claret felt. The Radiola Empire, where he once lived, was the largest nation on the continent and home to the Adventurers Guild headquarters. The capital had been prosperous, but the overwhelming crowds had worn him down. Blank had grown tired of constantly being pushed through busy streets. 3 years had passed since those days. To hide his identity as the Black Emperor, he changed his entire combat approach and switched to using a sword. It took a long time to get used to it. He hoped he wouldn't need to rely on weapons too much in this new chapter of his life. Still, he had achieved his goal of becoming a grade 10 adventurer. As he passed through the city gates, the gatekeeper waved at him, assuming Blank had completed his registration without trouble. Blank walked over and thanked him for guiding him to the guild earlier. The gatekeeper wished him luck, reminding him that the town stood right beside the demon forest. Having more adventurers around was always a good thing. Blank was surprised to hear about the demon forest being so close. The gatekeeper explained that one of the 5 demon kings lived there, and the second demon king's territory was rumored to be nearby. Blank said he was aware of that. He recalled warnings about frequent monster appearances, making even simple herb collecting dangerous. Smaller requests would start piling up because of it. That was exactly why Blank had chosen this country. Seeing how motivated he was, the gatekeeper said they were counting on rookies like him. After they parted ways, Blank decided it was time to accept a request. Before that, he visited the real estate office. A man greeted him and Blank explained he wanted to buy a house. Most adventurers spent their earnings on gear maintenance, so they usually lived in inns. Owning a home alone was uncommon. Only elite adventurers could afford one. His master once told him that inns were fine, but returning to a place of your own felt meaningful. Blank still didn't fully understand that feeling, but after saving up for 3 years, he thought it was a good moment to use some of it. He sat with the employee, who asked about his preferences. Blank said he wanted a large place with a bath. The employee said there was one available, though it was on the edge of town near the plains, so he couldn't guarantee full safety from monsters. If Blank was fine with the location, they could check it immediately. Blank agreed at once and followed him to the house. He inspected the place while the employee explained it met all of his conditions, though the distance from the city center was the main flaw. Blank said it might be slightly inconvenient, but compared to living deep in the mountains, it felt simple. He told the employee he liked the house and decided to buy it immediately. The employee thanked him and mentioned they had struggled to find a buyer because of certain issues. Then he asked how Blank wanted to pay. Without hesitation, Blank handed over a bag filled with gold coins and said he would pay in full immediately. The employee's eyes went wide as he shook the heavy bag in disbelief. Blank realized he had made things a bit awkward. Carrying around 1,000 gold coins was troublesome, but for a house worth 10 million belks, it still felt cheap compared to the 10 billion he earned for defeating the Black Dragon. The house was a little big for someone living alone, but cramped spaces never suited him. Lifting his low-ranked adventurer license, he allowed himself a smile. For some reason, he felt genuinely happy about becoming a grade 10 adventurer. Years ago, in the Adventurers Guild, young Blank had registered for the first time and immediately placed at grade 7. Other adventurers whispered behind his back, complaining about how he jumped grades so quickly after receiving a recommendation from a grade 0 adventurer. They assumed he would fail soon enough. His master patted his head and told him to ignore their voices. She reminded him that their world only valued results and urged him to silence them through action. Blank understood and decided to prove himself. He completed difficult requests one after another. Eventually, he gained the title Black Emperor, and people talked about how he finished every mission without complaints. Once everyone saw his true ability, no one questioned his rapid rise to grade 0 again. Later, he met with his master and received the final task as her disciple. She ordered him to slay the Black Dragon, servant of the first Demon King. Once he completed that, he would be free to go. When he heard those words, Blank wondered if freedom carried some special meaning. Even so, he accepted the order without hesitation. When he arrived at the Adventurers Guild, the receptionist informed him that a noble had sent in another request for the Black Emperor. Since Blank had never refused a mission, he earned a reputation for being dependable and powerful. Blank simply replied that he was doing what he had been told. Then a group of young adventurers burst into the guild after finishing their tasks. The receptionist scolded them for running inside. Blank asked who they were. She explained they were newly registered grade 0 adventurers. She recalled that he himself had started at grade 7. These kids, however, couldn't handle monsters yet, so they were beginning with simple tasks like gathering herbs and cleaning the city to gain experience. Blank wondered what the point of being an adventurer was if they couldn't fight Demon King beasts or explore unknown territories. He doubted these chores had any real purpose. Just then, a citizen thanked the kids for helping them earlier. Blank noticed how happy the person looked. At that moment, he understood that even if the kids only did small jobs, the herbs they gathered became medicine, and keeping the streets clean helped prevent illness. Every small task held meaning, and these kids were helping not just adventurers, but ordinary people in their daily lives. Blank had focused so heavily on killing monsters that he never noticed this side of adventuring. Adventurers were supposed to defeat monsters, and he had done so by taking out targets chosen by nobles, but he began questioning what that really meant. The monsters nobles wanted hunted lived far from human lands and wouldn't even care about humans if not for official requests. The monsters he killed turned into trophies, their bodies collected out of greed rather than necessity. Those requests never truly benefited anyone. He wondered who the real errand boy was now. He realized he wanted to do work that genuinely helped someone. But as a grade 0 adventurer, noble requests would never stop coming his way. Guild rules also prevented him from taking simple tasks. His thoughts finally settled when he remembered his master's words about gaining freedom. Blank felt she had expected this outcome from the very beginning. It was meant to help him start healing his heart. In the past, he had killed without emotion, completely numb. He didn't even know who he truly was. By the time he became aware, he was already with his master and had no memory of his life before that. He wondered who he used to be, but he understood it no longer mattered. For now, he was simply Blank, a grade 10 adventurer. He decided to take a request since it felt like the right moment to head out. It was the first day of his freedom, and he finally felt ready to begin. While preparing, he wondered what his master might be doing. At the same time, Blank's master felt irritated by how demanding everyone had grown. A stern-looking man reminded her she already knew why they were acting this way. He kept pressuring her to reveal the Black Emperor's location. This woman was Klula, the sword saint and Blank's master. She scoffed and told Vice Chairman Vulcan to give up since 3 years had already passed. Vulcan slammed the table and shouted that the Black Emperor's pending requests had piled up like a mountain. Klula asked why they were so obsessed with her disciple when other special grade adventurers existed. Vulcan hesitated and admitted those people refused to go. Klula guessed he simply couldn't force them. Vulcan glared in frustration. Klula glared back and demanded to know who he thought he was threatening. The pressure she released made it hard for him to breathe. Even as a grade 1, he couldn't withstand it. He finally understood the vast difference between grade 1 and grade 0. Klula stepped closer, her expression cold. She said she only showed up because of an old obligation and that escaping their surveillance would have been easy. Vulcan shouted that this was exactly why they needed her disciple. The Black Emperor was a special grade adventurer who still accepted their tasks. Klula asked if those tasks were actually the errands she'd heard about. Vulcan stayed silent. Klula reminded him that her disciple once had no will of his own, and people like them exploited that until he was drained. She pushed him to become an adventurer, so he could find strength and a reason to live. She said her disciple was never meant to be their tool. Now that he had found his own will, people like Vulcan had no right to interfere. Vulcan tried to stop her, but Klula left without looking back. She felt a headache coming on as she gazed out the window, wondering how her kid was doing. As long as he was safe, that was enough. She felt her role in all this was finally ending. She decided it was time to see Blank herself. Meanwhile, Blank eagerly checked the request board for grade 10 adventurers. The board was filled with herb gathering, small errands, town cleaning, and lost pet searches. Seeing the sheer number of them, Blank realized grade 10 quests weren't popular at all. He also saw that the higher the rank, the fewer the requests, and hunt-type quests only started appearing at grade 4. After a moment of thought, Blank picked a request and handed it to the receptionist. Lena confirmed it was for collecting Harria grass and took his license and form. She placed them into a strange box and waited. After a short moment, she said the request was now accepted. She explained it was recorded on his license and he could check it anytime. Blank was surprised since this was his first time experiencing a normal request workflow. He still didn't understand what the magic box was for. He asked to see a sample of Harria grass, and Lena showed him one with a clear twin-leaf split. Blank thanked her, but the moment he touched it, a sharp headache struck him. Lena noticed immediately and asked if he was okay. Blank felt the same painful surge he had experienced before. At random moments, knowledge he shouldn't have suddenly flooded his mind. Right now, he already understood the grass's habitat, the right way to harvest it, and how to refine it into medicine or even poison. It was useful, but he still couldn't get used to the sudden pain that came with it. He told Lena he was fine and thanked her for the sample. She wished him luck on his first job. Blank headed into the forest and within a minute already found Harria grass. Even better, many of them were growing together. Looking closer, he realized the grass was practically everywhere. Based on the new information in his mind, he knew not to pull the plant out by the roots. Instead, he needed to cut the stalk close to the base without harming the root so it could regrow later. After cutting it, he had to wrap the end in a damp cloth to keep it fresh. Once again, the painful knowledge proved extremely useful. Just then, a slime showed up in front of him. Even if it was weak, it was still a Demon King's spawn. Its instinct was to attack anything it saw, almost as if it existed solely to hate humans. If someone dropped their guard, a slime could sneak up and suffocate them from behind. It tried to attack him, but Blank simply stepped on it. The poor slime had picked the wrong person to challenge. After that, he noticed a core left behind. It worked as proof of its defeat and could be sold for money. But he wasn't short on cash, so he ignored it and continued gathering herbs. By late afternoon, Blank finally headed back to town. He got so absorbed in the work that he gathered far more than intended. He always enjoyed simple, mindless tasks like this. The plants were hardy, so over-harvesting wasn't a problem, and he knew the guild wouldn't refuse to take them. When he entered the guild, Lena greeted him and asked how his first request went. Blank said everything was fine and showed her the collected items. Lena was surprised when she saw the huge amount of grass. Blank admitted he got carried away and gathered too much. Lena paused and then laughed softly, calling Blank a strange one. She asked him to wait while she inspected the materials. While waiting, Blank heard other adventurers whispering about strange activity at the city entrance. Some even mentioned growls being heard inside the town. They feared monsters might have slipped in. Still, it was only a rumor, and if it were true, the guards would have reacted already. Hearing this, Blank remembered the rumor about the third demon king living in the forest, supposedly the most peaceful among them. Finally, Lena returned and called Blank incredible. She said everyone was shocked by the quality of his area grass, especially since it was his first time. Blank felt genuinely happy hearing that. Lena explained that Haria grass was essential for making medicine, but very few adventurers accepted gathering requests, so the guild was always short. Thanks to Blank, they could finally recover from the shortage. Blank was left speechless. Then she congratulated him on completing his first request. Blank got his license back and showed a small, bittersweet smile as he thanked her. Lena seemed surprised by the expression he made. Blank walked away thinking about her words. He couldn't stop a quiet giggle, which made people around him uneasy. At that moment, he was finally a certified errand boy. The next day, Blank moved silently across rooftops as if searching for something. It didn't take long before he spotted the cat he needed. He quietly noted that he had found it. The cat froze when it heard him, but it was already too late. Blank snatched it easily and ran off. The cat was completely confused about what had happened. He checked the collar and the cat thrashed around, even biting him. After confirming it was the pink-collared calico, he decided the request was done. The cat kept struggling, trying hard to escape him. For some reason, animals never seemed to like Blank. Monsters behaved the same way, always showing extra hostility whenever he was near, even though he never provoked them. He felt bad for the cat because it had been unlucky enough to be caught by him. He thought he should reconsider taking requests like this next time. Still, he returned the cat safely to its owner. Soon after, Blank visited a trading company. The head of the company, Belmo, asked if he was really the one who accepted their request. Blank confirmed he was. Belmo explained that the job was simply loading their goods into wagons. Blank noticed no one else had taken the request. Jobs like this often risk damaging the goods, and if that happened, the adventurer had to pay for it. That was why everyone avoided tasks like these. Such jobs involve heavy physical labor with low pay, but Blank did not care about the reward. Even if he broke something or got fired, he could cover the cost himself. Not that he intended to make mistakes. Belmo said he wished more adventurers like Blank would accept requests that benefited the community, though he understood why most preferred fighting monsters instead of doing small errands. He apologized if he sounded too blunt and asked Blank to work carefully. Blank told him it was fine. Belmo then instructed him to load the goods into the wagon, but Blank said he already understood. He easily lifted 3 crates at once. Everyone in the warehouse froze in disbelief. Blank asked if the crates needed a specific loading order. Belmo stared for a moment before telling him to stack them from the back. He also told Blank not to carry so many at once. Blank assured him the crates felt light to him. The other workers were stunned since even one crate was heavy for an ordinary person. Seeing Blank, the workers started moving faster. While he continued loading, Blank heard commotion nearby. One worker told another not to overdo it, but the other refused to back down because he did not want to lose to someone as skinny as Blank. He claimed he could carry the same number of crates. He tried, but he was not strong enough and lost balance, falling toward a female employee. Belmo shouted for them to be careful, but it was too late. Blank stepped in, catching the crates and shielding both workers. He checked if they were all right, and they thanked him with embarrassed expressions. Realizing his mistake, the man apologized. Blank said it was fine as long as no one was hurt. He opened the crates for Belmo to inspect the goods. Belmo checked them and confirmed nothing was damaged. He felt grateful that Blank protected his workers and prevented an accident. Blank said it was nothing. Belmo was surprised at how strong Blank was compared to his appearance. Blank simply said he had trained. Belmo suggested he work with them instead of being an adventurer. Blank smiled and said he appreciated the offer but preferred his current life. Belmo thought it was unfortunate, but told him he would always be welcome if he changed his mind. Blank quietly reflected on what had happened. For someone who only knew battle, hearing something like that made him grateful. He restarted as a grade 10 adventurer. From now on, he planned to keep helping people however he could, even with small errands. Later, Lena congratulated Blank for reaching grade 9. Blank refused immediately, shocking her. He asked what she was talking about so suddenly. Lena said it was a promotion and wondered why he was complaining. Blank said he preferred staying grade 10. Lena told him that was not how the system worked. Grade 10 was only temporary, and after completing enough jobs, adventurers were automatically promoted to grade 9. Blank asked if there was any way out of it. Lena said there were no exceptions and that automatic promotions up to grade 8 were part of guild policy. Blank was stunned. He never imagined such rules would ruin his dream of remaining a grade 10 adventurer. It was the first time she had seen someone upset about a promotion. She said most people aimed for higher ranks. Blank insisted some adventurers preferred staying grade 10 and thanked her for explaining. Lena pointed out that the word some only applied to Blank. Blank tried to say he had comrades who understood the pride of being grade 10. Lena still did not understand why he disliked promotions, but reminded him that adventurers were expected to serve the public. Blank asked what she meant. Lena explained that grade 9 meant he could now take extermination requests for weak monsters. Even those monsters were real threats to civilians who lacked combat skills. Adventurers kept people safe by eliminating them. More importantly, their true responsibility was clearing monster-infested areas and expanding safe territories for humans. She said that was their greatest mission. Blank remained still as he quietly agreed. He had been doing requests without thinking deeply about them. Now he realized he should also consider hunting monsters, at least for the sake of those who could not defend themselves. Lena told him that being promoted to grade 9 did not stop him from accepting grade 10 requests. She said he could still continue gathering herbs. Blank felt relieved hearing that and wondered if low-level errands were still allowed. If that was the case, he was fine with getting promoted. Growing tired of the discussion, Lena decided to finalize his rank change immediately. She asked for his license, and Blank noticed the mystery box was involved again. After updating his license, Lena congratulated him for reaching grade 9. Blank, however, looked displeased. Since he had ranked up, Lena had a request she wanted to assign him. Blank felt confused as to why she would give a task to someone who had only just moved up from grade 10. Lena said she assumed he would be fine with it. Blank said he was fine but not mentally prepared. Lena then mentioned that a newly registered grade 10 adventurer had appeared. Suddenly, a girl approached them and asked Lena if Blank was the person she had mentioned. The girl happily asked if Blank would be the one who would act as her mentor. Blank was surprised that he already had a cute junior admiring him, but the title mentor did not impress him, and he rejected the request immediately since he felt he was not the kind of person who could guide anyone. Lena worriedly asked why he would say that and told him to at least let the girl finish speaking before deciding. Blank said he was still a newcomer and did not think he had the qualifications to teach anyone. Lena then said the guild was formally asking him to take the task. She also pointed out that he shared some responsibility. She reminded him that he kept accepting many grade 10 requests, which made it harder for other rookies to rank up. Blank said he had been taking them, but it was not like he took every single one. Lena agreed, but the real issue was the types of requests he avoided. She mentioned that he often skipped animal-related tasks, like finding cats. While it sounded odd, those requests relied heavily on luck and had low success rates. Compared to hairier grass, rarer herbs, or those worth higher contribution points were harder to identify, which increased the difficulty and slowed promotion for others. Blank had not even realized this. In his old days, requests piled up faster than they could complete them, so he never imagined taking too many could cause problems. He only wanted to help, but ended up making things difficult for everyone. Lena apologized, saying she sounded like she was complaining, and assured him he had not done anything wrong. She explained that the guild actually appreciated how he handled the overflow of errand requests, and the herbs he collected had earned a strong reputation. She said no one had ever focused on grade 10 requests this consistently before, and that was why they wanted to ask him for this favor. They hoped he would share his skills and knowledge with others. She assured him they would compensate him since knowledge held value. The guild would give him proper rewards. She even offered to raise his rank as a bonus but immediately withdrew the offer when she saw his unamused expression. After that, she asked whether he would accept the request. The girl behind Blank looked hopeful. Blank did not mind teaching the skills, but he wondered if he could share knowledge he was not sure he fully understood. Still, if he had caused these issues, then he could not ignore them. He decided to accept the request. The girl brightened and thanked him. Blank introduced himself in a simple manner. The girl bowed at a 90-degree angle and introduced herself as Arya. She said she was still inexperienced but would work hard. Blank told her she did not need to be so formal, but Arya disagreed because she believed she was learning from a senior. Blank felt impressed by her enthusiasm and became excited to gain another errand lover. He hoped they would both do their best. His reaction left Arya confused. Lena then mentioned that Blanc might seem a bit strange, but his abilities were genuine. She told him to take care and wished them good luck. Blank picked up the request form while Arya waved goodbye to Lena. Blank's first task was to teach Arya how to handle grade 10 herb gathering requests. He asked how much she already knew. Arya said she only knew about Haria grass and nothing more. Blank suggested starting with Haria grass. Arya immediately pulled one out from the nearest patch and showed it to him. Blank explained that she should not remove them by the roots. He said the plant would grow again if the roots stayed in the soil. He then demonstrated how to cut the stem carefully, without damaging the roots, and wrap it in a damp cloth to keep it fresh. He added that placing the grass in water inside a container also worked, but he did not really recommend it. Arya asked why. Blank said, Haria grass was neither rare nor valuable, so it was not worth the added trouble. Arya agreed. Still, Blank added that the same method worked for other herbs as well, so it was useful to remember. When he noticed her expression, he asked what was wrong. Arya called him amazing, just as Lena had claimed. Blank replied that these were only basic things. Even so, Arya still found it impressive. She thought she understood Haria grass, yet never considered what to do with it after picking it. She said that grade 10 jobs might be called errands, but even simple herb gathering could not be done carelessly. Her words made Blank show a faint smile. He eagerly agreed and warned her not to underestimate errands because they would eventually cause trouble. Arya laughed at his sudden remark and asked him to teach her more. Blank continued the lesson and pointed at something near her foot. Arya looked surprised and asked what it was and if she should cut it the same way. Blank said it was lula grass mainly used for restoring mana. As he demonstrated how to harvest it, he warned her to be careful when using it. At that moment, he felt something strange nearby. Blank looked behind him but saw nothing. He wondered what he had sensed just seconds earlier. Arya asked what he had been warning her about, and Blank explained that the grass would upset a person's stomach if it was not prepared the correct way. For now, he assumed he had imagined everything. Soon after, Lena congratulated Blank for reaching grade 8. Blank did not look pleased, although he still thanked her. He nervously asked if he would be stuck forever and never return to grade 7 if he refused the promotion exam. Lena told him to accept it because that was the rule. She also pointed out that ever since Blank started guiding Arya, her growth had been incredible, and she reached grade 9 inches a short time. Blank felt bad for Arya because he assumed she was upset. Lena said one blank was already enough and that Arya was actually very happy. She explained that the program had originally been a test, but now they planned to make the beginner mentorship a permanent part of training. Blank felt relieved that it helped. Lenny then said she hoped Blank would accept the combat request someday. Blank quietly handed her another non-combat request. Lenny said she would process it for him. At that moment, some adventurers began talking behind Blank's back. They called him the infamous errand boy. One of them did not know the nickname, so another explained that Blank was the rookie who refused combat requests and only accepted errands. Most adventurers started fighting early and ranked up quickly. He pointed out that a rookie who joined long after Blank had already reached grade 7. Since Blank had no intention of leveling up or hunting monsters, they wondered why he even bothered becoming an adventurer and why the guild still favored him. They complained that the guild even let him mentor a cute new girl. They thought it was unfair. Lena heard them and knew Blank heard them too, so she asked him not to let their comments get to him. She said errands were still important to the guild. Instead of being discouraged, Blank looked proud. He could not believe he already had a nickname. Lena ignored his reaction and continued processing his request. After Blank left, Lena leaned on the counter and smiled as she quietly called him a weirdo. Another receptionist named Rena slipped behind her and startled her. Rena asked if the boy who just walked out was the one everyone talked about. She was surprised that he did not react even after being insulted right in front of them. She also thought Blank had a face that did not show much ambition, so the errand boy nickname felt appropriate. Lena asked her not to say things like that because Blank was actually helping them by handling leftover requests. Rena agreed, saying everyone already knew that. Appearance did not matter much for adventurers, but Blank always looked tired and annoyed, and his hair was always messy. She said he was not bad looking, but his overall aura ruined everything. She believed adventurers should appear more energetic. With that attitude, she said Blank would never be good dating material. Lena suddenly shouted at her in annoyance, catching the attention of nearby adventurers. She tried to tell Rena not to think of Blank that way. Rena then loudly asked why they even worked at the front desk in the first place. She claimed they were there so they could marry a strong and wealthy adventurer, and nothing else. She mentioned an adventurer named Alan, who recently reached grade 6, was good-looking and full of potential. The There was also a grade 3 adventurer named Kevin who climbed ranks alone and was handsome and from noble blood, making him the complete package. However, Lena recalled that Alan was moving to another base and Kevin already belonged to a different branch. She wished Rena luck in finding them. Rena complained about how harsh life was. Since they were on the topic, she said she never heard Lena mention anyone she liked. Their conversation made the men around them excited and curious. Rena suggested going for a high-ranking adventurer, but everyone else wanted them too, so competition was fierce. She then said it might be smarter to aim for low or mid-rankers early. Lina said she did not have anyone in mind and was not even searching for a partner. Still, Rina kept asking what kind of person Lina would choose if she absolutely had to pick. The men quietly leaned in closer to listen. Lena knew Rina would not stop until she answered, so she finally admitted she might prefer a lower-ranked adventurer. Rina immediately offered to list some promising ones, but Lena quickly said that was not what she meant. She tried explaining that if she ever married someone, she would hope he avoided anything too dangerous. Rina questioned how they would even earn money like that. Lena called her too blunt. She added that they would not live in luxury and that she wanted to keep working as well. To her, staying together mattered more than anything. Rina then remembered Lena's father had also been an adventurer. Lena confirmed it, saying he died during a mission. People praised his bravery, but instead of chasing honor or money, she wished he had stayed with his family. Rina finally understood why she felt that way. The men who had walked away in tears were no longer listening. Rina admitted dating an adventurer would be difficult if Lena carried those feelings. Still, she noted that the rumored errand boy seemed like someone who might suit Lena, and she would not need to worry as much. After hearing everything, Rina realized Blank was the closest match to Lena's idea of a partner. Even so, she believed a man without a real future would not be good for her and honestly felt Blanc seemed too unreliable. She told Lena to at least choose someone who would make her happy. Lena gave a hesitant smile as she thought about Blank. Meanwhile, Blank met Arya again while running an errand. He assumed she wanted him to go with her for a request, but he said he would not join anything involving fighting. Arya said it was only an Oling fruit collection request, and the fruits grew inside the demon forest. She had never entered the forest before and felt nervous to go alone, so she hoped he would accompany her. Blank then realized he had never been there either. Arya noticed he was in the middle of work and apologized for bothering him. She told him not to feel pressured and to help only if he had time. Blank agreed and said they could leave now. He just needed to finish his current task and asked her to wait. He ran off carrying 5 crates of luggage. Arya thanked him but was shocked by how fast he moved. She stood there confused. To her, adventurers were amazing, and reaching grade 8 required that level of ability. She knew she could not run like Blank or lift heavy crates like that. She began wondering if she could really become the adventurer she wanted to be. She slapped her own cheeks, reminding herself it was not the moment to get discouraged. She had already decided to grow stronger, so she promised herself she would try even harder. Blank encouraged her. Arya was speechless when he returned so quickly. He apologized for the wait. She said it was fine and asked how he finished so quickly after just leaving. He reminded her they should get going since he did not want to stay out too late. Far deeper in the demon forest, a girl fell to her knees with a trembling voice. She could not believe what she was witnessing. She thought they had already killed that thing she knew they had. Branches and roots wrapped around her body. She cried that she only wanted a peaceful life and never wished to cause trouble. She directed her words to the 6th demon king. Later in the forest, Blank and Arya encountered a snake monster. Arya attacked with water ball. The monster was hurt and blinded, giving her a clear opening. She seized the moment, swung her sword down, and struck it with a solid vertical slash. Blank applauded Arya and complimented her skill. Arya said she had trained to become an adventurer, and Blank could see that. He also noticed that only weaker monsters appeared near the forest entrance, so even low-ranked adventurers could handle many of them. He asked if she had always wanted to be an adventurer. She explained that 3 years earlier her town was attacked by the Black Dragon. Blank froze, wondering if the Black Dragon she mentioned was the same one he knew. Arya continued, saying the kingdom's soldiers fought with everything they had yet still lost. The entire town was destroyed, and everyone ran for their lives. She could only cry, thinking it was the end. She had nearly given up. At that moment, the Black Emperor appeared. She kept talking, describing the clash between the Black Emperor and the Black Dragon. After witnessing that battle, she decided she wanted to protect people too. That was why the Black Emperor became her role model. She had no idea the same man stood right in front of her. Blank felt something strange inside. He never imagined his actions would inspire anyone. A monster tried to sneak up on Arya, but Blank killed it instantly. Arya turned and asked if something was wrong, and he said it was nothing. To change the topic, he commented on her good sword form. At that moment, Arya spotted the Olim fruits. Blank noticed them, and his mind filled with knowledge about the fruit. Arya asked if there was anything important to remember before picking them. Blank said there was nothing special besides avoiding bruising them, just like with regular fruits. He also explained that long stems could scratch the others during transport. Arya promised to be careful. Blank, however, felt more bothered by the strong magical pressure coming from deeper inside the forest. He sensed it was stronger than the black dragon's presence. He realized he had not imagined it earlier. Remembering the third demon king lived in this forest, he wondered if that was what he felt. Even so, this was the demon forest, yet Blank sensed no hostility at all. He questioned if that was normal. He then told Arya they needed to head back before it got dark. He was curious, but for now chose to observe from a distance. Soon after, he accepted another job, this time harvesting fruit in an orchard using his sword skills. In moments, the crates were filled. The workers were amazed because the stems were perfectly cut and none of the fruit was damaged. Unlike Olim fruits, Oranga stems were thick. Doing each one by hand would have been exhausting. One worker said Blank was incredible. Thanks to him, they finished their harvest faster than ever and even offered him a full-time job. Blank appreciated it but turned it down. Later, the friendly gatekeeper commented that Blank had been working too hard lately. Blank looked confused because he did not know what he meant. The gatekeeper reminded him he had been going to the plains every day to gather herbs and running around town helping people. He said taking breaks mattered as well. Blank replied that he did not feel like he was overworking, which the gatekeeper found difficult to believe. The gatekeeper added that Claret was a wonderful town and Blank should try relaxing and exploring it. Blank realized he had been chasing one task after another without thinking about resting. He understood it might be good to slow down a little. A stall owner then walked up and handed him a meat skewer. He said most people knew the demon forest was the town's main attraction, but Claret had much more to offer. Blank asked what else there was, and the man pointed at his grilled skewers as an example. Blank admired how well he promoted his business. The gatekeeper warned Blank not to fall for it too quickly. Blank wondered if he meant it as a joke, but the man insisted he was serious. Blank still agreed they had a point. He said it would be a waste to visit another land and ignore its culture and experiences. He decided he would make time to explore Claret more often. The gatekeeper found Blank's seriousness a bit odd. The stall owner cheered him on and told him to try eating his way through the town. He handed Blank another skewer as a free treat. Blank asked if he was sure, and the man said it was fine because Blank had helped him many times. He added that many townspeople were grateful for Blank's help as well. Blank was surprised to hear it. The man asked why he looked shocked when he was the one handling all their requests. Blank said it felt normal since he was an adventurer. The gatekeeper said that was not the point. He explained that before Blank arrived, they constantly ran out of herbs, but now they had plenty of healing potions thanks to his regular foraging. The stall owner urged Blank to take the skewer as a token of gratitude since everyone relied on him. Blank understood and immediately took a bite of the free food. The man told him not to hold back and to eat as much as he liked. Still, he wished more adventurers were like Blank and willing to take their requests. He explained that promotions and rewards were tied to harder missions, so townspeople struggled to find help. Most monster hunting jobs came from the guild, research teams, or nobles, so of course, those paid more than the simple errands locals offered. Blank did not remember food tasting this good before coming to Claret. He wondered why he had felt so empty back then. He assumed it was because of his master, and he believed he owed her for everything. The man next to him suddenly said he understood that feeling. He disliked it, yet admitted monster hunts were exciting. The gatekeeper agreed since moments like those awakened the adventurer spirit. Blank added that simple errands could be exciting too. The two men fell silent. They knew he was kind, but his mindset was still unusual, even if they did not dislike it. They only reminded him not to make Lena worry too much. Moments later, other townspeople came over and told the men not to keep Blank all to themselves. Everyone gathered around him and offered their goods for free to thank him for his help. Blank tried to pay, but they insisted he accept everything. The skewer seller and the gatekeeper watched with warm smiles. Not long after, another shop owner saw Blank walking down the street carrying many gifts. She assumed things had gotten out of hand because of the charming troublemaker. Blank thanked her but felt uneasy about the new nickname. The woman then offered him flowers too. Blank said he already had plenty and that her kindness was enough. Then he remembered something and asked if she had vegetables suitable for small home gardens. She guessed he wanted to start some backyard planting. Blank said he had considered it since his yard was large. The woman agreed it was a good idea and recommended tamarut, a nutritious plant that was easy to maintain. It hardly needed water yet still grew fast. Blank decided to take some and asked for more suggestions. Later, he successfully planted everything on his own. He was glad that his mysterious knowledge helped with gardening as well. It gave him something new to enjoy. When he thought about it, this was the first time he had relaxed in this house since he bought it. He took a bath and sank into the warm water, feeling calmer than he had in a long time. He realized a day off felt better than he expected. He could not believe he had gone so long without noticing how good it was. He thought he had wasted too much time. He felt sure there were many things he had missed because he was too exhausted to care. After soaking for a while, he stepped out. He decided he would return to work the next day. Even with his renewed motivation, Lena still could not believe he accepted another gathering request. It was an Olim fruit mission in the Demon Forest. She said Arya had taken the same request earlier, so there was a chance he might run into her. The forest was still dangerous near the entrance, so she reminded him to stay cautious. Lena waved goodbye with her usual receptionist smile. After that, she sighed and mumbled about what Rena had said before. Now she felt oddly nervous around him. While she was thinking about Blank, another adventurer approached and asked her to process a request. Right then, someone burst into the guild and yelled that he had terrible news. He was injured. So the others asked what happened and if he was okay. The man said a tyrant golem had appeared in the Demon Forest. Everyone was shocked since that was a known grade 3 monster. They assumed he had gone deep into the forest, but he said it appeared near the entrance. Someone pointed out that even in the deeper areas, no grade 4 monster had ever been reported, so a grade 3 monster at the entrance made no sense. People panicked and asked if the soldiers had been notified. On top of that, the man reported that 3 of those monsters had appeared. The guild staff rushed to look for any adventurer above grade 3 who could handle the threat. But in a small city like this, they doubted a strong adventurer would be nearby. The Demon Forest rarely attracted elite fighters, and powerful adventurers usually traveled to bigger cities. At that moment, the branch leader Auk arrived and declared an emergency mission regarding the tyrant golems. He announced that adventurers in grade 8 and below were forbidden from entering the forest, while grades 7 and above needed to prepare for city patrol and defenses. Rhea mentioned that O had once been a grade 4 adventurer, but handling this alone sounded overwhelming for him. Auk reminded everyone that this was a mandatory emergency request, and the guild contract required them to follow it. A rookie asked what that meant, and a senior adventurer explained that they had no choice but to obey and move out. Just then, Rena hurried to Auk and informed him that a grade 9 and a grade 8 adventurer were still inside the forest on their missions. Auk was shocked because he knew monster hunts usually began at grade 7. Rena explained it was the Olim fruit gathering request, which started at grade 9. Auk said most lower ranks normally completed hunting jobs on the plains first to rank up, but now the timing was awful for them. Rena added that those two always accepted small errand tasks instead of combat missions. Auk assumed one of them was the well-known errand guy. He respected the work they did for minor tasks, but if that was all they could handle, he thought they would be useless in an actual fight. Rena said Arya had taken monster hunts occasionally, but Blank had never been seen fighting monsters even though he always carried a sword. She feared the worst. Auk apologized and said they could not spare time worrying about the pair right now. Rena asked if he really meant it, and Auk firmly told her he did. In a crisis like this, they could not send people to rescue low-ranked adventurers. At most, they would keep an eye out while checking the situation. If someone became an adventurer, they were expected to protect themselves. Protecting the town came first, and he told her to let go of the thought. Rena was on the verge of tears as she tried to speak Blank's and Arya's names. Meanwhile, inside the Demon Forest, Arya lay on the ground with an injured arm. She could not hold her sword or stand anymore. She cried quietly, thinking she did not want to die like that. She tried calling out to her idol, the Black Emperor. A tyrant golem stood over her, ready to end her life. Elsewhere, Blank stepped into the Demon Forest without much concern. He noticed there were no Olim fruits or herbs around, which felt unusual. He wondered if Arya had gone ahead and taken too many, even though he had lectured her not to do that the day before. Even if monsters ate them, there should have been signs or tracks. He wondered if something could truly vanish from an area completely. He realized that if this continued, he might fail his errands for the first time. He refused to let that happen because he had just established himself as the errand specialist and could not risk losing the guild's or townspeople's trust. Then he sensed something unusual and instantly turned toward it. He felt the presence of an extremely strong monster. He guessed it might be grade 3 or even higher. He recalled monsters above grade 5 were not supposed to show up in this forest. As he moved deeper, he finally understood. He had found something the adventurers of Claret could not deal with. It was a wood-type, plant-based creature called the Tyrant Golem, believed to be grade 3 inches difficulty. He saw it had been absorbing the forest's magic and life energy, which explained why mana-dependent plants were withering. He was shocked it had been hiding in an unmapped region of the forest. This monster was the reason he might fail his first quest. He chose to fight it and then return to his usual errands. At that moment, he sensed another presence. He heard a familiar voice weakly asking for help. He froze when he saw an injured Arya calling faintly for assistance. His body moved on its own. He grabbed Arya, shielding her from the attack and cutting the monster in half. The sliced monster roared in pain. Blank quickly used a healing potion, letting it flow into her mouth. Arya's injuries vanished instantly. That would keep her stable. He rarely needed the potions for himself, but he was glad he always carried only high-quality ones. Suddenly, he noticed a strange haze. He felt confused and remembered his master had taught him about it long ago. He had forgotten the details and planned to ask her again next time. As he carried Arya back, something felt wrong. He looked back and saw an attack flying toward him. He dodged instantly by flying into the sky while still holding Arya. He wondered what was happening inside this forest. 2 more tyrant golems had appeared, and Blank understood how drastically the forest had changed. One monster fired a shot, but Blank slipped away effortlessly in the air. If there had been just one, he might have believed it had accidentally wandered in from deep within the forest. But seeing 3 raised serious questions. Another monster swung a fist. Blank was startled by how fast it moved despite its size, but he still dodged it. He had never heard of golem-type monsters forming groups or coordinating their attacks. He remembered they were not supposed to be this intelligent. That was when he realized someone was controlling them from the shadows. He apologized to Arya as he shifted his grip, promising to end things quickly. He leaped higher to evade another hit and noted how powerful the strike felt. Still, if they could not land a single blow, their strength did not matter. With one clean swing of his sword, he sliced the 2 tyrant golems in half as if they were made of soft material. Even then, he felt a bit disappointed because his skill was still far from his master's level. Still, his sword strike was not too bad either. Blank wondered what to do with the tyrant golems he had taken down. If he left them there, the guild would eventually discover he had defeated the monsters alone. He imagined Lena getting excited and suddenly promoting him. If that happened, he would no longer be able to take simple, low-ranked errands and would be forced to handle the noble requests that kept piling up. His expression stiffened as he imagined that future. He could not allow that, so he needed to erase every trace of the battle. Arya had seen the tyrant golem with her own eyes, and even if he destroyed the body with his sword, the leftover magic would not disappear. There was only one way to remove everything completely. If he used the special elemental magic only he could cast, nothing would be left behind. His master had warned him never to use it, which made him hesitate for a moment, but he chose to ignore that warning. Arya was unconscious and nobody else had witnessed anything. If he cleaned everything quickly and returned right after, he believed it would be fine. Right before he released his magic, he stopped. He sensed something was off and tried to understand it. Suddenly, he felt a type of magic far stronger than the tyrant golem or even the black dragon. It was denser and more overwhelming than a grade 0 threat. He could not believe something with that kind of power was hiding in the forest. Soon, that strange magic seeped into the defeated tyrant golems. Blank could not believe what he saw. The broken pieces of the golems fused into one massive creature. He had never heard anything like that happening before. The combined monster towered above him and began firing beams from its 3 eyes. Blank dodged the first blasts and blocked the last ones to shield Arya, who remained unconscious. He realized the battle was becoming tougher. When he deflected one of its physical strikes, the force pushed him back. During the clash, he noticed the golem's material had not changed, but its strength and durability had risen. The monster kept attacking. As Blank dodged, he understood the creature had absorbed the dense magic from earlier to enhance itself. Once he realized that, he knew dealing with it would not be as hard. He also saw it as the perfect target to release his frustration from his failed quest. The monster tried to fire more beams, but Blank slashed its eyes one by one, cracking 2 of them. He pressed forward and cut the creature's head in half. It let out a confused groan before collapsing. Blank said it was nothing surprising. If the creature hardened itself with magic, then he just needed to strike it with stronger magic. He swung his sword with full force and cut the monster cleanly down the center. A final eye shattered and the monster exploded into dust. Blank could not believe it disappeared without leaving a single useful material. It could have been a nightmare for other adventurers. At least he could consider himself lucky that he managed to erase the evidence. As he carried Arya on his back, he reached the gate and met a grumpy old man who complained that they still had the nerve to return. Blank wondered who the old man was. A moment later, Arya slowly regained consciousness. She looked around trying to understand where she was. Lena entered the room and felt relieved to see her awake. Arya was confused when she learned she was now inside the guild, even though she remembered being in the forest for a request. She said everything had gone wrong and explained that a vicious golem she had never seen before appeared there. Lena told her not to worry because the guild already knew and she was safe now. Arya felt relieved and asked if the guild had sent someone to rescue her. Lena tried to explain who it was, but a loud shout interrupted them. Arya wondered what was going on. Off was crying as he welcomed them back, grateful they returned alive. He hugged Blank tightly like a rag doll and complained that they made him worry too much. He even apologized for not going to save them himself. Arya peeked from the room and looked at Lena in confusion while pointing at Off. Lena explained that the large, loud man was the branch leader named Off. She said he was usually strict but also very emotional. Blank looked drained and seemed to have accepted everything. Lena then told Arya that Blank was the one who rescued her. Arya was shocked. Lena said Blank happened to be on a mission in the demon forest as well. Arya assumed Blank had defeated the golem. Lena added that according to Blank, the golem had already vanished when he found her. Arya could not believe that. Lena then asked Arya to tell them what really happened in the forest. Lena wrote down the summary. She repeated Arya's report about a large monster outbreak that came from deep inside the forest, and the tyrant golem was likely part of that group. She escaped the swarm but was struck by the tyrant golem right after, losing consciousness just as it prepared to kill her. This meant Blank had probably arrived just in time. Still, neither of them had ever seen him fight or take combat requests. Even so, a battle had clearly been witnessed from the town, so someone had fought the monster. Arya's wounds were completely healed too, meaning whoever defeated the monster must have done that as well. When Lena mentioned it, Arya realized she felt no pain and wondered who had healed her. Lena had no clue. For now, they could only assume a high-ranking adventurer happened to be nearby. Maybe someone like a grade 0 who never stayed in one place. This made Arya think of the person she admired. She doubted it was really them, but she still wanted to thank whoever saved her. She tried thanking Blank, but he was still being tossed around by the branch leader like a toy. Arya held back since he looked busy. Rena eventually scolded Away to stop and toss Blank aside. A month later, Blank asked to take another request. Lena looked unsure. She said he could take combat missions in the demon forest once he ranked up to grade 6 or grade 5. It turned out requests for grade 7 and below were suspended, and only adventurers at that rank and above could keep working as part of the Forest Investigation Task Force. Blank said it had already been a whole month and he could not believe they were still examining the forest. Lena explained that the forest was massive and the adventurers' safety mattered most. Low-rank adventurers were taking all the town jobs they normally avoided, so there was almost nothing left to assign. She then happily told Blank it was finally time for him to take the promotion exam. However, Blank was already gone. He walked out of the guild with a defeated look. He had not expected a monster like that to cause so many problems. If no jobs were left, then he felt he had no choice. He could just go home and look after the garden again. But he soon realized people were struggling because they could not take gathering missions, and he was stuck without work too. He was simply sitting around, waiting for others to solve the issue. He wondered if that was the kind of decision someone who called himself an errand adventurer who wanted to help people should make. Blank decided to deal with the cause himself. That way, everything would be settled. No one should interfere with his life as an errand boy. Blank moved quickly to the town walls and slipped out while avoiding the gatekeepers. He headed straight for the forest. The others had said the demon forest was huge. For now, Blank followed the same magic signature he sensed before. It would have been faster to fly, but he knew that if something sensed his magic, things would become troublesome. After thinking about it, he chose to run. The size of the forest did not matter to him. If he kept going, he would eventually reach his destination. As he moved forward, he noticed some of the monsters Arya mentioned earlier fleeing from the deeper parts of the forest. They were grade 6 rock grizzlies. The monsters tried to pounce on him, but Blank easily dodged them while feeling a bit sorry. He was in a hurry and did not have time to deal with them. He waved at them playfully before continuing. But deeper inside, Blank encountered more high-ranked monsters like Chaos Monkeys, Berserk Trents, and more Tyrant Trents. He could not ignore them anymore since they were blocking his way. He remembered hearing that monsters above grade 4 should appear in this forest. Still, he believed people only said that because they never explored this far. Even if these monsters were only grade 3, constant fights would exhaust anyone, and a person would need at least grade 2 skills to keep going. This made Blank think of his training days with his master. Back then, Klula trained him in swordsmanship. She said he would die if he ever lost focus. During training, monsters often attacked. Instead of helping, Klula scolded him every time he lowered his guard. Blank had not thought much about it back then. But looking back now, he realized that training was not something a child should have faced. 3 days passed as Blank continued exploring. He checked in with the guild every day so they would not grow suspicious. Even if he finished today, it would still take 3 days to return. He also did not want to be squeezed by Ah's huge chest again, drenched in emotional sweat. At last, Blanc reached the center of the forest's magic. He remembered how strong the fusion tyrant golem had been, but the ones before him now were on a completely different level. Blanc approached the huge plant bulb and said he knew someone was inside. He felt tired after 3 full days of travel, so he wanted the person inside to come out. Someone inside heard him and launched attacks with long roots. Blanc avoided the roots as they tried to pierce him. He felt surprised by such a greeting. The plant bulb slowly opened and a woman stepped out. She said she recognized the aura coming from him, but something felt strange. She asked if Blank was human. Blank confirmed that he was. At the same time, he understood that the woman before him was a demon lord. The woman then asked why a human carried such a presence. Blank felt confused. She explained that he bore the aura of the sixth demon lord. Blank wondered what she meant, since he had been told there were only 5 demon lords. For now, he felt some relief that they could at least communicate with words. If he could resolve this through conversation, that would be ideal. He recalled that the 3rd demon lord was said to be friendly toward humans. The 3rd demon lord spoke and said something felt terribly wrong. She asked why the 6th demon lord would need a woman, referencing how the tired golems had appeared recently. Blank apologized, claiming he had no understanding of her meaning, and asked her to explain. The 3rd said the previous 6th demon lord was unlike the others. It had been born from the hatred of the gods and stars, a creation of magic designed to erase everything. It had no reasoning, no intelligence, existing only to destroy. She wondered why the aura and presence of the 6th demon lord were within Blank. She decided to verify it herself. Her tone became serious, and she transformed. Blank understood that talking was futile. He realized the situation had turned dangerous. He cut the branches attacking him, but using his sword against her proved difficult. Even if they spoke the same language, a demon lord remained an enemy of humanity. The 3rd attempted to finish him with a final strike. Blank realized he had to get serious. He quietly muttered a chant and effortlessly cut through her attack. The 3rd appeared shocked as her branches crumbled to dust. Blank still felt a twinge of disappointment. After 3 years of training, he was still being pushed to such extremes. He assumed his master would be furious if she witnessed this. Blank summoned several god-slaying spears, destroying all the roots of the 3rd demon lord. With no witnesses around, he did not worry about using magic openly. This was his chance to fight without restraint. Yet the 3rd seemed to deny something, leaving Blank puzzled. She claimed his attack contained traces of the 6th demon lord's essence, though it had been a simple all-element spell. She grew furious and pressed her assault, questioning Blank's true identity. He dodged and thought the question should be directed at her instead. He noticed more roots and branches sprouting around him. Using a sword would have been easier, yet he was pushed back. Blank attempted to offer explanations if the 3rd would listen, but she remained silent. While evading her strikes, he considered that even demon lords had finite mana. He searched for an opening, but the 3rd escalated the fight. She had no choice but to summon more branches, closing in from all directions. Blank was surprised but managed to block them with a barrier. The 3rd smirked, confusing him further. He did not notice branches rising from below, from the ground he stood on. Blank was caught off guard as the branches encased him, thickening into a massive cocoon-shaped tree. This was the 3rd's heaven-sealing demon tree. The technique exhausted her, yet she expected Blank to speak. Inside the tree, Blank tried cutting the wood with his sword, but it did not yield. He even applied the method used to cut the fused tyrant golem, yet the magic imbued in this tree was far superior. He observed that she had expended significant power to shape the cocoon, pouring her strength into it. Still, Blank knew his mana reserves were formidable. He concentrated, forming his usual spear of darkness, thicker and stronger than before. He enhanced its speed with wind magic, preparing to pierce through. When he struck the wooden wall, the entire surface exploded. As the smoke cleared, Blank was shocked. His attack had done nothing. He could not believe it. He had channeled demon-level mana, yet it had no effect. Outside, the 3rd laughed. She said normal magic would not suffice, claiming it was the same magic used to seal the 6th demon lord. Blank's stomach twisted as he wondered why everyone kept mentioning the 6th. He felt a pang of hunger and imagined going home for a grilled skewer. His spells and sword skills failing meant only one thing. The darkness within him intensified. Though his master was absent, he recalled her saying there was no reason to hold back against a demon. Blank began releasing the power inside him. The 3rd flinched, her eyes fixed on the tree cocoon in worry. Blank announced that his next attack would obliterate everything, and even the thought of the long walk home made it stronger. The darkness shaped into a long, piercing lance, which he called the Lance of Endings. With a swing of his hand, the lance shot through the cocoon, nearly striking the 3rd. Blank calmly freed himself from the cocoon and said he had managed to get out. Immediately, dizziness hit him. He had burned through his mana with that attack and knew he could not continue fighting. Suddenly, the 3rd leaned closer and said she had finally understood something. Blank was startled, unable to believe he had let his guard down. The 3rd moved even closer and claimed Blank carried the heart of the 6th demon lord. Blank felt confused, wondering what she meant by the heart. The 3rd cheerfully explained that they had believed everything was erased. No one expected the heart to survive and end up inside a living human. She did not know how it had happened, but it made things more interesting for her. She finally understood why Blank gave her a strange feeling. Still confused, Blank wondered what she was talking about. He thought he had never seen or heard of the 6th demon lord she mentioned. He also questioned what she meant by erased and what the sixth demon lord even was. The third demon lord said simply that the sixth was their enemy, not only to demon lords but also to humans, gods, and the entire planet. Blank remained confused. The third asked if it still did not remind him of anything. Blank felt he could not be blamed, since he had no reason to trust someone who had just attacked him. The third said she was not even trying to earn his trust. Blank admitted he did not know who he was either. He assumed such things could really happen. Still, if his master had not mentioned anything about it, then it was probably fine. What mattered now was whether he was her enemy. The third stared at him for a moment, then smirked. She burst out laughing, calling him funny. She told him to relax and promised she would not bother him or the townspeople anymore. Blank felt unsure if he should trust her. The third said it was a one-time event and that she typically never caused trouble unless attacked first. If she truly wished to destroy everything, she could have done so at any time. Blank realized she was right. With her power, destroying Claret or even the whole kingdom would have been easy, yet she never did, suggesting she genuinely had no interest in destruction. Still, Blank wondered what had caused all this commotion. As if reading his thoughts, the third said she was curious only about the source of the sixth's presence. Now that she knew he had no intent of his own, she lost interest. She also observed that Blank preferred a peaceful world, unlike the sixth, and she liked that. Blank was surprised she noticed. The third explained that she could tell because he only defended himself and never attacked first. She said she loved peace as well, feeling a small connection to him. Yet she worried things might not go smoothly if Lilith found him. Blank wondered who Lilith was. The third explained that Lilith was the first demon lord, ruler of dragons and beasts, and that she hated the sixth. Blank did not want to be hated by someone he had never met. She also said the sixth was still angry over the death of his favorite vassal 3 years ago. Blank remembered killing the black dragon. He then wondered what kind of being the sixth demon lord was to be so hated. The third said she could not explain further, preferring not to dwell on it. Then she said she would help him if he ever got into trouble. Blank was surprised. The third finally revealed her name, Knuckle, and asked for his. Blank told her, and she seemed pleased. She said she hoped they could meet again. Blank said he might, if he felt like it. Knuckle told him to promise. Then she disappeared from sight. Blank's thoughts returned to his 3-day ordeal. He could not believe he had faced all these problems for a quiet life. Now that it was over, he only wanted to go home. He felt he kept being dragged into stranger situations each time. Later in the guild, Lena and Arya were happy to see Blank after such a long absence. Lena said the forest had calmed 3 days ago, allowing adventurers to take regular requests regardless of rank. Blank felt relief at hearing this. Lena guessed he wanted to take a request immediately, but Blank declined for the moment, wanting to go home and take a bath. Arya reminded him to hurry, as the bathhouse, though large, became crowded quickly. Blank wondered what a bathhouse was. Lena asked if he had never been in one. Arya explained it was big and comfortable. Lena invited him to join them, as they were also going there. Blank soon went to the bathhouse and enjoyed the hot water heated by a nearby volcano. Yet he was surrounded by elderly men from every side. Even the branch leader was there. Blank had become well liked by the older men because of his errands, and they insisted on scrubbing his back to show their thanks. One of them pointed out how popular he was. Blank enjoyed hot springs, but he still believed the peaceful bath at home was the best. Even so, returning to this kind of welcome felt pleasant. He relaxed so much that he slowly sank into the water, causing the others to panic. The girls heard the noise from outside and hoped nothing bad was happening. In that moment of calm, Blank did not realize that a dark plan was already unfolding within the peaceful town. Elsewhere in the town, a man stood before a huge water tank containing a beast. Meanwhile, in the Lydian Empire's Black Forest, Cluel felt tired as she faced constant trouble despite being retired from adventuring. She spoke to Grade 1 and Grade 2 adventurers who hid instead of helping her. She encountered a new problem nearly every day. She had been tempted to leave the country long ago, but the Empire convinced her to stay. They agreed to delay the search for the Black Emperor only if she, the Sword Saint, filled the empty role he left behind. They clearly could not afford to lose her. She knew she could move to another nation at any time, but it remained frustrating because she had no choice but to handle everything. More importantly, she did not want that boy to return and get caught in the growing mess. She remembered the first time Blank had spoken up, asking her about something he wanted to try. Cluel had been surprised and gave him a warm hug, telling him he would be fine and had nothing to worry about. 3 years had passed since that moment, and she assumed he had grown a lot. Even so, she still worried about his emotional growth compared to when they first met. Previously, Cluel had received a tip about a group called the Demon Blood Society. It was confirmed they tried to fuse humans and demons to create a new kind of being. Their group included humans and demonkin, and nations across the continent viewed this matter with great concern. Clue will read reports on their actions, including child abductions and the disposal of children who failed as test subjects. She found it sickening and accepted a request to stop them. She joined several adventurers and knights, took down the group, and rescued the kidnapped children. After defeating some members, Clue asked the knights who she needed to face next. She soon met a scientist who laughed maniacally and claimed he would show her his strongest creation and final weapon. All Clue saw was a child. She could not believe a grown man called a child his masterpiece. Before she could plan a rescue, he suddenly attacked with dark powers and killed the mad scientist, leaving only the scientist's lower half standing. Seeing the child's cold stare, Clue felt a chill run through her. The magical pressure from him felt like a storm of wild mana. She froze for a moment, admitting to herself that this might be a challenge even for her. The child attacked again. Clue dodged and realized the fight exceeded her expectations. If she held back, she would lose. She did not want to use her full strength against a child, but she had no choice. The world could never allow someone this dangerous to exist. Even if he lived, she could not foresee what future he might face. Then she noticed he seemed to be in pain. This shocked her. She could not bring herself to finish him. She rushed forward, leaped over him, and pinned him to the floor. She could not kill a child whose future had been stolen to be used as a weapon. She could not believe the world expected her to take his life, too. The child breathed heavily. Clue saw he had run out of mana and could no longer move. She told him it was over and that he was safe. She held him in her arms and asked him to come with her. Clue had known only the life of an adventurer, so she guided Blank down that path. Powers like his always attracted people who wanted to exploit them. Still, she believed that if he found his own will and reason to move forward, he would be fine. After all, he was her dear disciple. She wondered what fun things he had been doing and hoped he would tell her everything when he returned. At the same time, Blank felt cheerful as he stood in front of the bulletin board filled with low-ranked requests. There were so many. He finally realized how precious normal daily life was. He believed this was an important lesson and planned to report it to his master. Meanwhile, a boy glared at him with frustration. He thought Blank was nothing more than a weak errand boy. Blank looked back with a puzzled expression. The boy believed he was different from Blank. He was sure he would rise in rank fast, become a real adventurer, and earn a lot of money. He then raised his voice at the reception counter and asked for a grade 8 request. If he completed it, he would finally reach grade 7. Lena told the boy, Gajiel, that she understood his feelings, but all requests came from clients and the guild could not create new ones. Rena added that plenty of grade 7 requests existed, but Gajiel said they were insufficient. Other adventurers gathered, listening as Gajiel loudly asked if any grade 8 requests were linked to the Demon Forest. Lena explained that lower-ranked adventurers were still not cleared for forest-related jobs. Gajiel complained that they had already checked everything and found nothing new. The branch leader finally stepped in and said there had been no signs of strange activity in the forest for a while. He then announced the lifting of restrictions on the Demon Forest. Still, due to past incidents, anyone who noticed anything unusual had to report it immediately. Gajiel grew excited. Ak whispered something to Lena while Gajiel continued pushing for a request and told her to hurry. Lena said the only grade 8 request available was the Olim fruit gathering job. Gajiel looked disappointed and asked if there was a monster hunting request instead. Lena said there was none and told him he could take a different request outside the forest if he was unhappy with the options. In the end, Gajiel accepted the job and told her to handle the paperwork. Standing behind him in line, Blank thought the boy seemed to be having a rough time too. Gajiel reached the forest entrance and kept complaining in his mind. He could not believe he was doing another errand after so long. Still, once he finished this request, he would become grade 7. The problem was he did not even know where the Olim fruits grew. He thought he could simply grab any fruit he saw, but no one told him they were hard to find. At this rate, he felt he would fail the request. He assumed the outer parts of the forest were already picked clean by others, so he moved deeper into the woods while ignoring ropes and dangers. He kept searching but could not find a single fruit. Then a monster jumped out from a blind spot and attacked him. He dodged and fell to the ground. He was shocked to see a mad frog in the area. He remembered it was a grade 8 monster, so he believed he could defeat it. He prepared to fight, but the frog was suddenly blown apart in an instant. Gajiel froze in confusion because he had not even touched it. Something crawled out from the thick woods and rushed toward him. Gajiel did not see it coming and was sent flying into a nearby tree. He fought to stay conscious even though he already looked close to collapsing. He recognized the monster slithering in front of him. The monster was a grade 6 assassin snake. He assumed the mad frog from earlier had been taken out by this snake. He realized he had gone too deep into the forest. He needed to run, but his body would not move. At that moment, the snake suddenly exploded into pieces. Flesh and blood scattered over Gajiel. Seeing the headless monster fall to the ground, he felt confused. He wondered if someone had saved him but could not ignore the chance that the monster had not exploded on its own. He remembered the guild said the forest was already cleared. Someone had attacked the snake, yet no one was around. There was not even a trace of a presence, which felt more frightening than the assassin snake itself. The thought made Gajiel realize he did not want to die. He just wanted to go home to his family. Blank then appeared and commented on how badly Gajiel looked. Gajiel, still confused, wondered why Blank had reached such a deep part of the forest. Blank made him drink a potion by forcing it into his mouth. Gajiel drank all of it and stood up. He grabbed Blank by the neck because it still hurt. Blank asked if he was really still in pain. He tried to scold him again but stopped when he noticed every injury was gone. Even the bones and organs that seemed damaged were healed instantly. Blank thought it might have been better if he poured the potion slowly, but it was already finished. Gajiel knew this kind of potion was something a low-ranked adventurer could never afford. He asked why Blank wasted it on him. Blank wondered if the potion had not worked well. Gajiel said that was not the point and grew upset that Blank used it on him. Blank simply said that Gajiel had been dying. Gajiel called him an idiot and pointed out how rare and expensive that potion was. He said he could never pay him back. Blank told him he did not save him for money and asked him not to worry. Gajiel said that was still not the point and asked if the potion was really that expensive. Blank said it did not matter even if it was. He used it because he wanted to. Gajiel then reminded him how he kept calling him errand boy the whole time. Blank said it sounded nice. Gajiel wondered why he looked so happy. Blank then said they should leave since he could move now. On the way, Blank assumed that Gajiel had gotten lost. He said that olim fruits did not grow that deep in the forest. The terrain looked tricky, but he still told him to remember the path they were walking on. Gajiel wondered how Blank knew about his request. Blank said that Lena had told him to accept the same request as Gajiel. This made Gajiel realize that the receptionist and the branch leader might have known from the start that he would fail this task on his own. Blank then remembered that Gajiel's mother was sick. Gajiel became confused and asked how Blank had known that. Blank started explaining that olim fruits were used in potions for strength and recovery. The potion that Gajiel's mother needed required olim fruit as one of its ingredients. He said it was fine if Gajiel thought gathering quests were simple errands, but if no one collected these things, then the medicine could never be made. Even small requests mattered if they were ignored. He told him not to look down on errands because they were important too. Gajiel looked defeated. Blank then made it clear that the guild did not send him to Gajiel because they had given up on him. They were worried about him pushing himself too hard while trying to help his mother and little sister. Earning money was important, but Blank said it was worth thinking about what mattered most to the people close to him. Gajiel started crying. He admitted he had been terrified earlier and thought he was going to die. If he failed to help his family, he felt they would be left crying without him. Blank gave a small smile and changed the topic. He wondered if the large snake would sell for a good amount. Gajiel had completely forgotten about it. He then asked Blank if he had seen anything else when the snake's head suddenly exploded. Blank assumed it had died from old age. Gajiel doubted that and said he would report it to the guild later. Blank panicked and asked him not to. He told him to just think of it as luck that saved him. Gajiel then asked how he was supposed to explain bringing back that monster as a grade 8 adventurer. He reminded Blank how frightening the guild branch leader became when he was angry. Blank groaned and said he would claim that Gajiel defeated it. Gajiel said that would be fraud. Blank did not expect him to be that serious.